Okay, so remember that they're changing my voice. So they seem to be speeding up some of the speech in some of my videos to kind of ruin the videos. And this video is about why I'm reliable. So I've gone over this before and no one had a viable counter argument, just like for all my key points. And I think it's good to go over it again. So point number one, I have 22 or 23 witnesses on record, and in spite of covert sabotage, fuming, poisoning, and other forms of persecution, I only made minor mistakes. So you have to ask yourself, why suppress most of my videos, if not all? Why not publicly debate me? If they think that I'm wrong, why wouldn't they simply publicly debate me? Because obviously I'm right, and I'm targeted for being right. And right about God and the divine order, and what should be done. Why deny me my freedom of speech, right? There's tons of people who say a lot of things. There's tons of people who have adverse political views to many of the governing class, if not all of them. There's people who have all kinds of beliefs, and they say all kinds of things. Why suppress my free speech? Why suppress my videos? Because clearly, I'm right. When you look at everything and say who, what, when, where, how, why, it screams that I'm right. Point number two. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence of the persecution that I talk about in my videos. I have evidence, of people having one headlights back to back. I have one video where there's like 3 vehicles with one headlight on each vehicle back to back. After I talked about how they seem to have, a ridiculous amount of one headlight vehicles driving by me all of a sudden. So when you see 3 in a row, you see that, hey, the probability of that is very low. I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen, several one headlight vehicles, okay, before that incident, obviously, in the same day. It's pretty rare. When I started seeing 5, 10 of them in a single day, and then that time where I saw 3 back to back, and there's lots of other things that show that I'm being persecuted in my videos. If you want to know more about that, please put it in the comments. Point number 3. No one else has a logical and valid top martial arts challenge, which is outdoor sparring. And outdoor sparring shows mind, body, soul, and spirit when done right. I often bring up the wordplay of spirit, right? Spirit, spirit, right? Inspire alpha. In the spar of the alpha, you see the inspiration. And whether or not you believe the wordplay, think about the idea. The wordplay just overkills the idea. And again, vowel, right? Vowel, to L, alpha, bet, alphabet, and gospel, go, spell. And so the reason why the Bible is written in the way it is to make it harder for me to explain why I'm right. For example, when it says I and the Father are one, there's a bunch of immature people who like to argue, oh, does that mean that you're God? No. We see it in so many movies where people say that they're one with something. We see it in Star Wars, where that one character says he's one with the Force. Does that mean he is the Force? No, it means he's one with the Force. And so it is with God and I. I'm one with God, but I'm not God. I'm anointed by God, and I'm one with God, and I'm in the Father, and the Father is in me. Pretty straightforward. I've had my top martial arts challenge since 2013, December 20th. And I had one before that was a lesser challenge in May 4th, 2012. In May of this year, if I'm still alive, that'll be 13 years. 13 years. But my famous top martial arts challenge that countless people are aware of, occurred December 20th of 2013. So it had the 11-year anniversary in December, and the challenge keeps going on. So no one else has any comparable top martial arts challenge, and that sets me apart as serving God more than everyone else, right? Conveying spiritual power, conveying moral might, conveying righteousness, right? Righteous intensity, the intensity of that challenge. And I've been persecuted with 23 witnesses on record since then. Some of these witnesses did lengthy interviews. Some just briefly weighed in. One of these people was a person that I've known for a long time. They recently have gotten to her, unfortunately, and we don't talk anymore. So she can't be trusted. But I'm pretty sure that, under the right circumstances, she would tell the truth about this stuff. And at that time, that was back in like 2014 or so, she said that I'm the most normal person that she knows. And she lived in San Jose in what I believe is the largest apartment complex in San Jose. Very extroverted person, works as a waitress, what have you. She said I'm the most normal person that she knows. Now keep in mind, the word normal has the word moral scrambled into it. So what does it mean to be normal? It means to be moral. If you're moral, you're normal. If you're moral, you treat people with a certain compassion. If you're moral, you treat people fairly. That's why the word normal has the word moral scrambled into it. Because being normal is a good thing when you have a normal state of mind. Like how you dress and all this stuff is not so important, but being moral is important. And caring about people and treating them fairly. Doing what is fair and just and right. It's in these characteristics and the details of these characteristics that we find the truth about how to be fair and righteous. Okay. So in spite of my videos being covertly sabotaged, edited, what have you, to reduce appeal, I have clearly shown insight, foresight, and wisdom in a way that is unmatched in human history. Unmatched. Okay? It's even in the word match, right? Unmatched, matched. The word match. The top martial arts challenge. We see in the word skills, right, is the word kills scrambled into it. Why is that? Because human skills, first and foremost, are martial arts, right? Mind, body, soul, and spirit, right? Skills and kills, right? Because people evolved to be hunters for tens of thousands of years, for 300,000 years or so. So who is more effectively evolved to have insight than who? Well, it goes back to martial arts. Because martial arts are warrior arts. They're hunting arts. Right? Nimrod was described as a mighty hunter before the Lord and also a mighty warrior. That's why there's animal styles in martial arts, right? Animals hunt. And in hunting, we see how to effectively come into harmony with nature and to maneuver, what have you. The word maneuver has the word man in it. Manning up. Ver in virtue means man, and martial arts are about building character. So by saying these things publicly while other people refuse to, by making certain key distinctions, you see why I'm reliable. Other people to the government are reliable because they lie. But in reality, they're not reliable. I'm reliable because I make the distinction. I make the distinction between true love derived from justice and just propaganda-based love, which is false love, the common so-called conceptions. They're pagan and they're untrue. And I make the distinction to the point where I'm persecuted for righteousness' sake. And those who are going to heaven are persecuted for righteousness' sake. They're not just hanging out on this planet and trying to make money or trying to go along to get along. Okay, the work of God is to be holy. That's why it says in Matthew 5, be perfect because your Father in heaven is perfect. Be perfect. Before I zoomed in on that scripture, I used to say things like, that Christianity is in its true form is a martial art religion. Because what kind of person has the dedication to pick up their cross and to be willing to die on the drop of a hat specifically for righteousness? Specifically for that, not for tribalism or clannishness or for the government, but specifically for righteousness' sake. That's a martial artist in his true form. And a martial artist in his true form is a Christian in his true form. His true monotheistic. Scrambling to be holy and pure in good form. Scrambling to purify himself, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And if that leads to the body being poisoned, then so be it. Just like if I got into a fight with somebody, if it leads to my hand being messed up, so be it. If it leads to me, having some minor injury, fair enough. The soul and the spirit are everything. The flesh means nothing compared to the Spirit of God, compared to one's soul. What does it profit someone to preserve their flesh and to lose their soul? Point number 4. No one has even attempted to refute my Kuro Obi black belt argument, even though I bring it up specifically trying to get them to refute it if they can. I say things like, hey, if you have a counter argument, I want you to make the counter argument. They don't. The Kuro Obi means black belt, and Obi in Igbo means King Heart Hut Essence Center Temple Core, the belt a sign of rank, the king a sign of rank. And Obi in Igbo, the word Obi is Igbo spelled backwards. The name of my tribe, and I'm from the royal family of the same tribe as Dr. Martin Luther King, the Igbos of Nigeria. They have no counter argument for this. Why they put all those con men out there from Nigeria? The reason why they did that, because Martin Luther King's of Nigerian descent, because I'm of Nigerian descent, and I'm the top martial artist, and they don't want people to trust me. They don't want people to rely on the goodness in me, and the essence of the goodness in me is God. I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. The things I say inspire people to be good in reality, not in a compartment of controlled opposition. I doubt anyone has ever speaked out more against controlled opposition than I have. Okay. The next point I'd like to make is point number 5, is no one can rely on evil people and still be sane. So what happens when you rely on evil people, when you cultivate the evil path of controlled opposition, for example? Then you start to lose reality. You become into a fugitive state of mind, a fugue state of mind, a brain fog. And you start to lose that mental clarity that allows for moral clarity. In fact, moral clarity is mental clarity. How do you know you're sane? And when you're moral versus being criminally insane. So the moral precision means you're more sane than someone else. It means you're more normal than someone else. Why am I more normal than everyone else here? Because the normal response to an evil world is to scramble to do what is right. So they're common, but I'm precisely normal. That is the normal response. On a planet where 9 million people starve to death every year, 3 million children starve to death every year on this planet. The normal response is to scramble to do what is precisely right, to separate yourself from guilt and to try to help people and to put God first the whole time. That is the normal response. That's why the word moral is scrambled into the word normal. And the reason why I say that again and again, so that people who pass by can hear it and perhaps they'll remember it, though my time on this planet is short and I doubt that anything good will come from it, other than me combating the spirit of evil inside of them. So that's another reason I do it. It's moral repetition, spiritual warfare. It's rejecting the arguments of the people who want people to be imperfect. They tell people to just accept evil and no one's perfect. And that clashes with the idea of telling people to be perfect, because your heavenly Father is perfect, like it says in Matthew 5, which is the same chapter as the Beatitudes. See, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. See, blessed are the meek in regards to obeying God, not the government, because they'll inherit the new earth, not this earth. Blessed are you when you are persecuted and people persecute you like the prophets. He said, rejoice is what it says, because great is your reward in heaven. Because you're supposed to want to be persecuted for righteousness' sake, because that's what happens when you try with your heart to be righteous. You get persecuted. They reject you, and they reject your path, and they reject your truths. It said, blessed are the pure in heart. It's like Matthew 5:8 or so. It said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. So when Jesus comes back, right, my soul comes back, not everyone sees God in me, because it says, blessed are the pure in heart. They will see God. In Hebrews it says, without holiness, no one will see God. Without purifying yourself and making sure that you can think straight and do the right thing, you don't see what's right if you're not doing what's right. Wisdom walks in the way of righteousness along the paths of justice. One cannot be wise unless they're trying with all their heart to do what is right. It is impossible to be wise without being morally precise. To reject moral precision is to be foolish. To reject serving God with all your heart is to waste your life. See, righteousness is greater than wealth, and it's also greater than being common. A short righteous life is greater than a long common life. A short righteous life is greater than a long wealthy life. Righteousness is the true path. It is the true way to live your life. Okay, so you see the evil tree of colonialism and neocolonialism. It seeks to suppress rights. One of the main tactics they use, they claim that you have rights. If people have rights, then how come so many people are suppressed on social media? Why wouldn't the people get together and make a social media site that allows for free speech? Because people don't have rights, but they're told that they do. When people tell you something again and again, a zillion different ways that's not true, it's because they're in the spirit of the devil. So when society collectively lies to you and says that you have freedoms, it says that you have rights, but you're not really allowed to assemble for truth. You're not really allowed to protest for what's right. You're not really allowed to speak on what's right, or they start targeting you. Because the system has chosen deception. It is the anti-God. It is the anti-Constitution. And they say that someone's a constitutionalist if they insist on their constitutional rights. But yet you have constitutional lawyers. Yet people are sued all the time in regards to things that have to do with constitutional rights. So how can they say that you can insist on your constitutional rights while at the same time the system is full of lawsuits that have to do with constitutional rights? That's just evil. They're trying to keep people from doing the right thing. They say one nation under God, but they persecute me for telling the truth about God when they have no viable counterargument. 20,000 denominations, and they have no viable counterargument. So if it's one nation under God, then they must respect my freedom of speech, my freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is the most important when it has to do with moral precision, when everyone from every faith has no counterargument. What's more important than that? What's more important than the right to assemble to feed the hungry in a world where 9 million people starve to death? What's more important than doing the work of God, doing for the least of the brethren? What's more important than telling the truth and getting people to live a righteous life? First, the soul must come first, getting people to purge themselves of all wickedness and then to do God's work. That is the work of God. That is what it means to love your neighbor. That's why in John 14 it says, the one who loves me keeps my commands. And they're moral commands. You know by the command whether it comes from God or whether it comes from man. And man's selfishness. That's why the mark of the beast is said to be the number of humanity. It says the number of a man and the number of humanity. It's the number of Adam when he rebelled against God by eating the fruit. It's the number of Eve when she rebelled against God by eating the fruit. It's the number of Cain when he killed Abel. It's the number of Herod when he betrayed Christ and persecuted Christ. It's the number of Caiaphas when he persecuted Christ. It's the number of Judas when he betrayed Christ. It's the number of those who killed the prophets. It's humanity's number, those who find their lives in this world. It's the number of the world. So point number 6, I talk about organized mass rape by deception honestly. It's deception. Okay, if people are doing things they wouldn't otherwise do because of an organized system of deception, then that is a sin. When they're getting married when they otherwise wouldn't. When they're dating people they otherwise wouldn't. That is deception. And the devil is a deceiver, and the devil is a horny devil. So one of the biggest crimes out there is rape by deception because God is the creator. All crimes against creation are great crimes. Crimes that have to do with the perversion of procreation. Pro of what? Pro of moral precision. I've never come across anyone other than myself who breaks down what it is masterfully. First, you need a point of reference. What is the ideal relationship like? In popular culture, it doesn't exist. So immediately, there's a flag goes up. Why don't they make clear what the ideal relationship is like? Again, 20,000 denominations, 380,000 churches in America. But they don't make clear what the ideal relationship is like. They don't make clear that love must be derived from justice or it's not true love. They don't make this clear. And as a result, there's a 50% divorce rate. You know by the fruit of the system of marriage and dating we have in this country that it doesn't come from God. Because if there's a 50% divorce rate, then most marriages fail because not everybody who wants to get a divorce gets one. Not everyone who's in an abusive relationship gets a divorce. So the vast majority of marriages are clearly, at first glance, on top of that, unholy, sacrilegious, immoral, and made from an unfocused state of mind, in a fugitive state of mind, where they're fugitives from moral precision. The spirit of moral precision is pursuing them, and they are fugitives who refuse to surrender to moral precision. They refuse to surrender to the Spirit of God. They refuse to surrender to God and be holy. And the word holy is synonymous with righteous and godly. To be holy is to be righteous. The throne is established in righteousness. The throne is established in holiness. The essence of holiness is God. The essence of righteousness is God. The essence of godliness is also God. Point number 7. I tell the truth about universal pinpointed moral precision and the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. So a lot of people, they don't even know what the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order is. If all these churches and these religions are doing a good job, how come they don't know what it is? How come most people don't even know that Africans do martial arts? Because, this is where Martin Luther King got that part of him that was pure. He got it from the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order of the Igbo tribe. That's why Kiro Obi means black belt. And Obi means king in Igbo, and the word Obi is Igbo spelled backwards. They don't know what it is. Now, who keeps you in darkness? The devil. Who refuses to tell the truth about God? It's the devil. So if there is a moral order and people are refusing to tell you what it is, it's because they worship the devil. That's why in John 3, it says, the one who does the work of God comes into the light, so that everyone can see that what he's doing is the right thing, that his deeds are the deeds of God, the deeds of a righteous man. The people who do the wrong thing, they don't come into the light. And if they do, it's just to spew propaganda. Or I tell the specifics of righteousness. I say this is exactly how to be righteous. It's not a theory. It's universal pinpointed moral precision. It's something that you know is true right away. So I tell the truth about universal pinpointed moral precision, the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. I also tell the truth about what the ideal person is. The difference between an idolater and somebody who serves God is whether or not they live the reality of what ideal is. Are they trying to make themselves like the Royal African Falcon top martial artist, me? Or are they trying to make themselves like the Pope, or a mere preacher, or the average person, or their parent, or the president, or some celebrity? To worship God is to worship the spirit that I'm in, which is the spirit of telling truth. It's the spirit of righteousness and justice, of moral discipline. It's the spirit of true integrity, true fidelity, true honor, true perseverance, moral clarity, moral fortitude, moral will. How do you know when you're doing God's will? Well, is it right? If you're doing the right thing, you're doing God's will. Now, how can you do the right thing if you're cheating me out of my right to lead? To snake means to cheat. When you cheat me out of my right to lead, you're in the spirit of the snake. You're in the movement of the snake. You're in the principles of the snake. And you're cheating me, and nothing good can come from it. That is a very key part of all this. There is no being moral without understanding that. There is no being moral without living that. I tell the truth about universal pinpointed moral precision and focused moral intensity. Because the word righteous, for example, is a potent word. It's an intense word. You have to be precise to achieve it. And you have to be intense if you're going to be it. To be intensely moral. Point number 8. I break down romantic justice while others won't. Well, since I'm going over time here, let me just wrap this up here. Point number 9, I'm honest about what gang stalking is, and it's obvious that I'm not controlled opposition. Point number 10, I do honest comparisons of people with countless pictures. People need to think about those type of things more. Not like some kind of propaganda person on YouTube or something. Point number 11, my focused moral intensity arguments connect to Proverbs 4:18 and show you that I'm right. Point number 12, I make many arguments in regards to persecution that others neglect. Point number 13, I give you the true scale for a superior life. Point number 14, I make the distinction between the true Son of God versus propaganda and what it means to not be in the Spirit of God, right? The body without the Spirit is dead, like faith without works is dead. So if one isn't continually doing the work of God, then they're like a zombie, right? They're doing something else. They're just accepted the mark of the beast, the mark of not producing the fruit of God. And it says in John 15 that you must remain in the true vine, and every branch that doesn't remain in the true vine, remain in the moral precision of obeying God through Christ, is cut down and thrown into the fire, which is God's Spirit cooking the wicked who did not become one with God, but were adverse to God, so that their immoral soul burns forever because of the Spirit of God rejecting them and the disgrace of having betrayed God and the righteous. Thank you.